how effective do you find California, their response to be in general when it comes to preventing and then managing massive wildfires such as this one?
Well, at the state level in California and the federal level, right now, it's good news, bad news situation. Right now, we're doing things in mostly the wrong ways that are
Mm.
not effective and are even counterproductive. So the current approach is to focus on vegetation management, removing vegetation in the wildlands, removing trees, removing shrubs, and thinking that's going to act as a fire break and it's going to stop the fires. And then when fires occur, most of the money, most of the effort is on trying to stop the fire in the wildlands as it's spreading across the landscape, driven by winds. Um, and that really isn't possible. The problem is removing vegetation actually makes fires spread faster. The denser the vegetation, the slower the fires spread. It seems counterintuitive, but that's the way it works. Denser forests, for example, have a cool, moist, shady microclimate. And when you remove trees, you undermine that. And so basically we're spending money in ways that are actually making fires spread faster toward communities, in ways that are actually increasing carbon emissions, because we're pulling carbon out of our carbon sinks. And what we should be doing is focusing on protecting communities directly through proven measures like home hardening and defensible space pruning, basically things that make the home and the immediate surroundings more fire safe.
I'm just curious if you think that the federal agencies, the state agencies like the US Forest Service, are they aware that the prevention efforts are actually contributing to the spread of wildfires? Because, the research is there, you've dedicated a lot of time to this. So are they aware of this? And if they are, why are they still operating in this way?
Well, you've asked the key question right there. Yes, they're aware. And interestingly, hundreds of independent scientists like myself have sent the Forest Service letters, notices, have sent letters, notices to Congress, to the administration, letting them know what the science is saying. And many of these studies are actually being published by Forest Service scientists these days. And so they know that their own science is actually contradicting what they're doing. They also have a core group of scientists that are sort of maintaining the party line. So there's a conflict even within the Forest
Mhm.
Service about this. But where the great majority of the best science, the most comprehensive science is pointing, is that these are weather and climate events, and we're making things worse by pulling trees and other vegetation out of wildlands and undermining our carbon sinks. And what we need to do is really just focus on protecting communities through the things that we know from the science are extremely effective. Home hardening, making homes more fire safe, and providing assistance to do that, defensible space pruning within about 100 feet around homes, and then evacuation assistance when there's a fire.
Are there any states you can think of that are doing a very good job of doing this?
No, there are no states that are doing a good job on this right now. So this is why I say it's a good news, bad news situation. Bad news is that we're doing things wrong mostly right now. The good news is that we are starting to shift slowly, incrementally in the right direction. So if you look at like the daily reports on the line fire and all the other fires that are going on right now, what you'll see is mentions about what they call structure defense or community defense activities. And so a lot of the firefighters, are actually working to do that defensible space in advance of the approaching flames. They're helping people and their animals evacuate. They're doing the things that we should be doing. The thing is that that's great and that really is important, but we need to be doing that well in advance of these
Mhm.
fires, before the fires start, before fire season starts. So this needs to be a shift in policy, not just a shift in
Mhm.
in in uh, in firefighting tactics when the fire actually happens.
Well, I know you also mentioned that as well when it comes to fighting the fires when they're actually happening, the ways in which that can be happening sometimes are also wrong. So can you speak to those strategies a little bit? And do you see those strategies being implemented right now during the line fire?
Yeah, they are. I mean, and we see this line fire is not unique in this, but most of the money, most of the effort is on bulldozers out in the wildlands, trying to create long bulldozer lines that they think will stop the fire from spreading. Um, uh, giant air tankers, dropping water and fire retardant out in the wildlands. And the thing is, you can't stop a weather-driven fire that way. When you've got hot, dry, windy conditions, the fire is going to move. And a lot of what happens when the fire moves is it's throwing up embers, and the embers are driven by the winds, and it's leapfrogging over the fire line. And so it'll just go over any of those bulldozer lines. It doesn't matter. I mean, they'll go 2-3 miles sometimes, the embers. And so when you have hot, dry, windy conditions, you're really, you're trying to fight the wind, and you can't fight the wind. You can't fight it with a bulldozer, you can't fight it with a chainsaw, and you can't fight it with an air tanker. And so that's why I say that those are tactics that are just not, especially in the era of the climate crisis, those are tactics that are just not effective, not anymore anyway. And so we need to focus on the thing that we know is effective and will continue to be effective, which is direct protection of communities, people, their animals, and their homes.